They told him he was crazy. They laughed when he said humans would live on Mars. He was broke, sleeping in his office, with rockets exploding behind him. But today, the same man controls the future of space, cars, and AI. This is not just Elon Musk's story. This is the story of a man who refused to fail. Elon Musk was not born into comfort the way most people imagine. Yes, his family had money at times, but money did not protect him from loneliness, pain, or the feeling that he didn't belong anywhere. As a child in South Africa, Elon was quiet, awkward, and constantly lost in his own thoughts. While other kids played outside, he sat alone, reading books for hours, escaping into worlds where imagination was stronger than reality. At school, things were cruel. He was bullied so badly that one day he was pushed down a flight of stairs and beaten until he lost consciousness. When he woke up in the hospital, his face swollen and bruised, something inside him changed. He realized the world was not kind to dreamers. But instead of letting that break him, it made him stubbornly determined. Elon didn't just want to survive, he wanted to change the world. By the age of 12, while other kids were playing games, Elon was creating them. He taught himself how to code and built a video game called Blastar. He sold it for $500. To most people, that wasn't much money. But to Elon, it was proof that he could create something valuable from nothing. His dream was always bigger than Earth. He loved science fiction. He read about space, rockets, and the future of humanity. While everyone else thought about school, sports, or popularity, Elon thought about one question again and again. What happens to humanity if Earth dies? That question haunted him. At 17, he left South Africa with nothing but a suitcase and a burning desire to escape limits. He went to Canada, working odd jobs, cleaning boilers and cutting wood. His hands were rough, his body tired, but his mind was alive. Eventually, he made his way to the United States, studying physics and economics at the University of Pennsylvania. Elon had been accepted into a PhD program at Stanford. But after just 2 days, he quit. 2 days. Why? Because the internet was exploding, and he knew this was the future. So he dropped everything and started a company called Zip2 with his brother Kimball. They worked day and night, sleeping on the office floor, showering at the YMCA, eating whatever they could afford. Their goal was simple: to create an online city guide for newspapers, a kind of early version of Google Maps, but the world wasn't ready. They pitched their idea to newspaper companies, but nobody listened. They were rejected again and again. Yet they kept coding, kept believing. 4 years later, they sold Zip2 for over $300 million. Elon walked away with $22 million. He was 28 years old. Most people would retire. They'd buy an island, relax. But Elon wasn't like most people. Instead, he took nearly all his money and gambled it on his next idea, a company that would eventually become PayPal. He believed that the future of money was digital, and he wanted to build it. He poured his heart, his soul, and his fortune into this new venture. It was a brutal, competitive market. He faced betrayals from within his own company and fierce competition from outside. During a critical moment, while he was on a flight for a much-needed vacation, his own team staged a coup and fired him as CEO. Imagine that. You build a company from nothing, and just when it's about to succeed, the people you trust push you out. But even then, Elon didn't give up. When the company was later sold to eBay for $1.5 billion, Elon's share was over $180 million. He was now wealthier than he had ever dreamed. But money was never the goal. It was just fuel for his real mission. Now, he had the resources to chase the dream that had been with him since he was a boy reading sci-fi books in South Africa, the dream of space. In 2002, he founded SpaceX. His goal was not just to build rockets, it was to make humanity a multiplanetary species, to build a city on Mars. People laughed. Top engineers in the aerospace industry told him it was impossible. They said he was a Silicon Valley kid with too much money and zero experience. He tried to buy refurbished rockets from Russia, but they literally laughed him out of the room. So Elon decided to do something even crazier: build the rockets himself. He read every textbook he could find on rocket science. He hired a small team of passionate, brilliant engineers who believed in his vision. They worked out of a warehouse in California, starting from scratch. Their first rocket, the Falcon 1, was ready for launch. They put everything they had into it. It took off, and seconds later it exploded in a ball of fire. Failure. He had poured millions of dollars into a failed launch. His critics celebrated. The media called him a failure. But Elon didn't see it that way. He told his team, "Let's figure out what went wrong and try again." The second launch came a year later. The rocket flew higher this time and then exploded. Failure again. More money gone, more doubt from the outside world. He was running out of cash fast. He was funding both SpaceX and his new electric car company, Tesla, with his own fortune. The third launch. This was it. Everything was on the line. The rocket lifted off beautifully. It climbed higher and higher, breaking through the atmosphere. For a moment, it seemed like they had finally done it. And then, another failure. The stages failed to separate correctly. The rocket and the dream came crashing down into the ocean. At this point, he was completely out of money. Both SpaceX and Tesla were on the brink of bankruptcy. He had to borrow money from friends just to pay his rent. He describes this period as the worst of his life. The pressure was immense. He was divorced, in debt, and seen as a national failure. This was the moment where anyone else would have quit, but Elon Musk is not anyone else. He gathered his last remaining funds, enough for one more launch, one final shot. If this failed, everything was over. SpaceX would be gone. Tesla would be gone. His dream would die. On September 28, 2008, the Falcon 1 stood on the launch pad for the fourth time. The world was watching, expecting another spectacular failure. The countdown began. The engines ignited. The rocket lifted off the ground. It cleared the launch tower. It soared into the sky. Stage separation was perfect. The rocket reached orbit. They had done it. Against all odds, against all the experts, against 3 devastating failures, they had reached space. A small private company had built a rocket from scratch and achieved what only entire nations had done before. That single success saved everything. NASA saw what was possible and awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract. Tesla secured last-minute funding just hours before it would have gone bankrupt. From the absolute ashes of failure, Elon Musk had built an empire. His story is not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about having a vision so powerful that nothing can stop you. It's about getting knocked down again and again, and each time, standing up stronger. It's about looking at an exploding rocket and not seeing an end, but a lesson. It's about hearing it's impossible and taking that as a personal challenge. The next time someone tells you your dream is crazy, remember the kid who was beaten and bullied. Remember the entrepreneur who was fired from his own company. Remember the man who watched his rockets explode, taking his fortune with them. His journey teaches us that the path to changing the world is paved with failure. But if your conviction is strong enough, failure is not the end. It's just part of the story. When Zip2 was finally sold for $307 million, Elon Musk was just 27 years old. Most people would have stopped there, a lifetime of wealth, secured before turning 30. But Elon was just getting started. He took his millions and poured it all into a new company called XCOM, which would later become PayPal. Once again, he worked like a machine. No vacations, no comfort, just a relentless single-minded focus. When PayPal was sold to eBay for a staggering $1.5 billion, Elon walked away with around $180 million. Now he was truly rich, and this is where his story takes an insane turn. Instead of buying mansions, private jets, or a peaceful life, Elon decided to risk everything. He looked at the world and saw 3 problems that truly terrified him: climate change, our dangerous dependence on fossil fuels, and the existential risk that humanity could be wiped out if we stayed only on Earth. So he did something nobody else dared to do. He started 3 companies at the same time: Tesla, to change how cars run; SpaceX, to take humans to Mars; and SolarCity, to change how energy is created and used. People thought he was completely insane. Investors warned him he was spreading himself too thin. Friends begged him to slow down and enjoy his money. Experts were adamant. Private companies could never build rockets. But Elon didn't listen. And at first, the experts seemed right. SpaceX began by failing again and again and again. Rockets exploded on the launch pad. Millions of dollars vanished in clouds of smoke and fire. Engineers cried. Critics laughed. The media branded him a fraud, a con man playing with other people's money. At the same time, Tesla was also bleeding cash. Production of their first car, the Roadster, was a disaster. Delays piled up. Customers grew angry. The company was teetering on the brink of collapse. By 2008, Elon was almost broke. The man who once had $180 million had less than $20 million left, and all of it was being funneled into his failing companies. His personal life was falling apart. His marriage was collapsing under the immense stress. He started sleeping in his office, exhausted, scared, and utterly alone. One night, sitting in the dark, surrounded by blueprints and empty coffee cups, he admitted something terrifying. "I thought I was going to fail. It was a genuine possibility. If SpaceX failed one more time, the company would die. If Tesla didn't secure immediate funding, it would go bankrupt. Everything, his entire fortune, his reputation, his dreams, all depended on one final rocket launch, one last chance." The Falcon 1 rocket stood on the launch pad, a thin white needle against the twilight sky. Elon and his team watched in absolute silence. Years of work, millions of dollars. Every dream he ever had. All of it was riding on this one moment. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Elon held his breath. If this rocket failed, it was all over. But then, something incredible happened. The rocket lifted off. It didn't explode. It didn't fall. It soared, climbing higher and higher, until it finally reached orbit. SpaceX had done what no private company in history had ever done before. In the control room, there were cheers and tears of relief. But Elon didn't scream. He didn't jump for joy. He just quietly closed his eyes, completely overwhelmed. They had survived. That one moment changed everything. NASA noticed. Investors returned. Tesla got a lifeline, a crucial investment at the last possible second. Elon Musk was no longer a joke. He was a threat to the old way of doing things, and this was only the beginning. After the Falcon 1 finally reached orbit, something shifted in the world. Elon Musk was no longer just a billionaire with crazy dreams. He had proven something powerful, that even the biggest, most established industries could be challenged by one stubborn person with a clear vision. But success didn't make his life easier. In many ways, it made it harder. Tesla was now under intense pressure. People wanted electric cars, but they didn't believe Tesla could build them at scale. Elon promised something that sounded impossible: a beautiful, fast, and affordable electric car for the masses. But promises are easy. Building factories is not. Inside Tesla, chaos reigned. Production lines broke down, custom-built robots didn't work. Employees were exhausted, working around the clock. At one point, Elon was sleeping on the factory floor, wrapped in a blanket, waking up every few hours to personally solve problems. He told his team, "I'm not doing this because it's easy. I'm doing it because it matters." At the same time, SpaceX was now building bigger and more powerful rockets. The Falcon 9, the Dragon capsules. But Elon's ambition was far greater. He wanted reusable rockets, something every expert in the field said was a physical and financial impossibility. Rockets, they argued, are meant to be used once and then thrown away. But Elon hated waste. He saw single-use rockets as a fundamental barrier to making humanity a multiplanetary species. He wanted rockets that could launch a payload, return to Earth, land safely, and fly again. And so, the cycle began once more. People laughed, and Elon failed. Rockets missed their landing pads. They crashed into the ocean in spectacular fireballs. Billions of dollars were burned. Every failure was broadcast live across the world. Every mistake became a headline. Elon Musk's rockets crash again. The world watched, waiting for him to finally give up. But he didn't stop. Then, one day, something unbelievable happened. A Falcon 9 rocket launched into space, completed its mission, and then began its descent. The world watched, mesmerized, as the live camera feed showed the rocket returning. Slowly, carefully, it adjusted its position with small puffs of gas, and then, it landed perfectly upright, on a floating drone ship in the middle of the ocean. The control room erupted. The world watched in shock. Elon Musk had just rewritten the laws of rocketry. From that moment, SpaceX became unstoppable. But even then, Elon's biggest dream was still waiting. Mars. He believes humanity needs a second home, not as a luxury, but as a backup for civilization, an insurance policy against catastrophe. He wants to build a city on another planet. People called it a fantasy, he called it survival. Meanwhile, Tesla was also winning. The Model 3, against all odds, became one of the best-selling cars in the world. Supercharging stations spread across countries like a web. Electric vehicles were no longer weird or niche, they were the future. Elon's journey is far from over. His story is one of relentless ambition, of spectacular failures, and of even more spectacular triumphs. He risked everything, not for more wealth, but for a vision of a better, more sustainable, and more exciting future. Whether you see him as a hero or a madman, one thing is undeniable. He dared to look at the impossible and say, "Let's try." And Elon became the richest man on earth, but with fame came controversy. He tweeted things that crashed stock markets. He argued with politicians. He smoked weed on a podcast. Then, he bought Twitter and turned it into X, shaking the entire social media world to its core. For some, he was a genius, a visionary building the future. For others, he was a dangerous, unpredictable force. But Elon didn't seem to care. He just kept pushing forward. Then came artificial intelligence. He issued stark warnings, claiming AI could be the greatest threat humanity has ever faced. And what did he do? He created companies to develop AI safely, including Neuralink, a venture aiming to connect the human brain directly to computers. Once again, people were afraid. And once again, Elon moved forward, driven by his belief that the future belongs to those who dare to shape it. But behind the immense power, the staggering wealth, and the constant headlines, Elon Musk was still that lonely kid who once got beaten on a staircase. He was still that boy who escaped into books and dreams, a man driven by a profound fear not of failure, but of a world that stops trying. Every night he works, every day he pushes. It's not because he needs more money. It's because he believes humanity deserves a future, and that future isn't confined to just one planet. It's out there, among the stars. Elon Musk's story isn't about being perfect, it's about being obsessed. Obsessed with building something bigger than himself. Obsessed with solving problems that most people are too afraid to even think about. He doesn't live like other billionaires. You won't find him hiding on super yachts or taking long vacations. He doesn't relax. His mind never rests. His companies are always teetering on the edge of chaos because he is constantly pushing them beyond what they were meant to be. There are nights when rockets explode on the launch pad. There are days when factory production lines fail. There are moments when the entire world seems to doubt him all over again. But he never stops. Why? Because Elon Musk believes something that very few people truly believe, that one person can change the future. He has already changed how we drive. He has changed how we explore space. He has changed how we communicate. And he is far from finished. One day, humans may walk on Mars because of him. One day, clean energy might save the planet because of him. One day, humans and AI may coexist safely because of the choices he is making right now. But the most powerful part of his story isn't the money or the fame, it's the message. It's the idea that even a quiet, bullied, awkward child can grow up to bend the world to their will. Elon Musk didn't wait for permission. He didn't follow the well-trodden path. He built a new one, and that is why his story will be remembered long after the rockets, the cars, and the headlines fade away. Because it reminds us of something beautifully simple. The future is not written, it is built. It is built by people brave enough to try it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content just like this.